Hi, good morning, Matt Miller.
Good morning to you.
Well, is that the first time you've seen the Thriller dance that we do with that?
Before with
okay.
No, I did one other video call with you, so
I'm sorry, Matthew.
It's well choreographed, I guess I'll say.
Look at you all handsome in your baseball shirt and your man cave there.
Oh yeah, exactly. This is my home office, which was always kind of a place I'd spend an hour a weekend, and suddenly locked in here all the time.
Yeah. I just shared your tweet about parenting tips with my friend who has 2 toddlers at home.
Oh yeah, locking them in the basement.
Right. No, about that you had the very ambitious parenting schedule, and then it became here's 2 pounds of crackers and an iPad, go in the basement till bedtime.
Yeah. I found my new parenting secret is to have every room on your house have a door that locks from the outside, so you can banish the kids and just lock them in for a while.
Wow. Okay, I do. I feel for you parents. Also, it's weird because you've had to, obviously you're a key legal analyst, and since we've moved past the impeachment and all that, now you've moved on to hairstyling tips, which quarantine hairstyling, which I think is important. Can I have some informational music? Thank you. Matt Miller reminds you things I've learned about barbering while in quarantine. 1, cutting the sides is easy. 2, cutting the top is easy. 3, blending the 2 together so you don't look like a member of Hitler Youth is a skill that apparently requires significant training.
Yeah. I got to chopping with my clippers the other day and left it. You probably can't see it, but a nice little line running down the side.
That looks super Hitlery. Yeah.
Oh, stop.
It's bad. But I'll say the thing I didn't address in the tweet is the back, and that's because I'm not cutting the back. I'm just returning to my Texas roots, and I'm going to go full mullet. And keep the short, the sides.
Okay,
so the sides, the top short, and just let the back flow.
Yeah, so this can get worse. Okay, all right.
Yes, it can.
Is it wrong that I want to take my dog clippers and make you a little Hitler mustache just to match it? Stephanie. You might as well match.
Oh,
this.
no.
Okay, all right. All right, Matt Miller. What do we where do we start? There is so much. Okay, first of all, did Trump turn? Is it me or did Trump turn into Edward G. Robinson yesterday? Dirty, filthy cops. See, yeah, dirty cops. What is okay, so he vented his outrage over the FBI's treatment of Mike Flynn following the release of government records and blah, blah, blah. Okay, they came at him with 15 buses. He's standing in the middle of a highway. What they did to this man, they tormented him, they destroyed him, but he's going to come back, like I say, he's going to come back bigger and better. And he argued that he was victimized by dirty, filthy cops at the top of the FBI. Can you explain, is there something different that I missed other than Flynn lied and Flynn admitted that he lied?
No, nothing at all. There are 2 things about this. One, the complaint that Trump and Fox News and all the allies on the right are all torqued up about now, that Flynn was somehow treated unfairly by the FBI. If you think Flynn was treated unfairly by the FBI, you think thousands and thousands of people are untreated by the FBI and police around the country every day in this country. And I maybe that's what they believe, but I doubt it. Look, Flynn was treated pretty aggressively by the FBI. That's what the FBI does. He's a 3-star general. He was a national security advisor. He had to know better than to lie to the FBI when they come talk to him. And no matter what you find, no matter what the complaints are about how the FBI handled it, that's the bottom line. He had the chance to tell the truth, and he didn't. And then one more thing about this that I find so interesting. For 3 years, during the Mueller investigation and then during impeachment, what the Republicans kept saying is, oh, the left is obsessed with this. All they want to talk about is this Russia investigation. They don't want to talk about anything else. Suddenly, we're in the middle of a pandemic when the president has failed miserably. And what does the president want to talk about? The Mueller investigation. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's not. They're not talking about just because they're mad about Mike Flynn, but because they want to have something to talk about where they can, rally against an enemy that they've all, been mad about for 3 years. In this case, Jim Comey and the FBI, rather than talk about the president's pretty miserable failure as a leader of the country.
Where are we on the unredacted Mueller report? I always try to time his Twitter spaz outs to, okay, what's coming that he's distracting from? Are we going?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening with that?
there's a judge in D.C. who has asked for access to the Mueller report. There's this weird thing where he was going to get it, not asked, he's ordered. The DOJ has to give it to him so he can review it because he said he doesn't trust Bill Barr to have made the redactions because he's looked at the way Barr's handled everything else. He didn't trust that the redactions are made fairly. But there's this weird thing going on where he's delayed actually taking the report while the courts are closed, which they're kind of virtual courts right now, like everything is virtual, which I don't get. They could email him the report. It's not classified. The stuff is redacted, but none of it's classified. He could review it at home. So I don't know why he's not reviewing it now, but for whatever reason, that has all been delayed until he can get back in his chambers and read, I guess, a written copy of it.
Speaking of Barr, you tweeted, I thought Barr was just engaging in saber rattling, and maybe he is, but the report here, the DOJ has been discussing strategies with conservative groups is, what's the word, concerning. I mean, to me, it literally reads like, if your state's not killing you fast enough, we'll help you out with those lawsuits, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, look, I mean, they've been like sort of threatening lawsuits or implying that they'll bring lawsuits on two things. One, if people are treating religious organizations or churches unfairly, if they're singling out churches for a more stringent treatment than anyone else, which no one is doing. There's no one that passes, passing stay-at-home regs and then making them stricter for churches than anywhere else. That's not happening. So I thought that was a little bit of just throwing red meat to the conservative right. And then the other is what you referred to, which is to threaten that if a state has stay-at-home rules that the Justice Department thinks are too tough, and Barr talked about in an interview and in a memo, unfairly clamping down on commerce, that the Justice Department might come and sue. That seems absurd to me because I think a court would laugh the Justice Department out of court. I mean, there's no judge, I don't think.
Well, Gretchen Whitmer just won in Michigan. And of course, what she's doing is not unconstitutional. She's protecting the public health. These protesters to me are screaming fire in a crowded theater, aren't they?
They are. The idea that a federal judge is going to overrule a governor who is trying to save people's lives. Judges are pretty cognizant of their legacies and the impact of their orders, and no judge wants to have blood on their hands by ordering, by striking down a state rule that then leads people out, back into work and into public places and gets people killed. Yeah. So I thought it was saber rattling, but look, they keep rattling the saber, and at some point you have to worry they're actually going to act.
Yeah. Let me ask you two more legal things. I think Travis just mentioned something to you. I forget about which state, but
Texas is not releasing the report. They're not releasing which nursing homes have had deaths.
Where your mom is. And Florida is now blocking medical examiners from releasing COVID-19 deaths. I mean, this is the biggest story in our lifetime, right? Matthew, we're beyond the cost of Vietnam. We're heading into what looks like another Great Depression in the course of 6 weeks, and they think they can cover this up? I mean, this is the state of Florida has now stopped its medical examiners from releasing numbers about people who have died from COVID. The Florida State Health Department intervened to suppress the medical examiners' reports, which regularly showed death totals that were 10% higher than the official tallies put out by the state. And somebody said this is no different than any other public record. It's paid for by taxpayer dollars, and taxpayers have a right to know. So, I mean, once again, how is this legal, Matthew? What is happening?
No, look, it's not. But what they're banking on is in state with open records requests that they can deny the open records request. A journalist or somebody else has to go to court. It drags out the fight. And maybe you get them months down the road. It's the same play that Trump plays with Congress when Congress subpoenas the administration for records. It's this thing where they started the pandemic, obviously all of them with their at best with their heads in the sand, at worst denying that this crisis was coming, and then you got to a place where for about a month they were all having to grudgingly admit that what's obviously true is true, that there is a worldwide health crisis. But you see now where Republicans are starting to act like Republicans again, even when they're in charge, which is to deny that there's a problem, to try to rally against Democratic governors or the deep state or all these other people that are responsible for these problems. And they're just, the problem they really have here is Trump's modus operandi from the time he got in politics, and it's a Republican plan too, is to always find an enemy to attack. And if you can attack an enemy, you can forget about your problems. And you can't really attack a virus. It doesn't work that way. You
Yeah.
can't make a virus a political opponent.
Okay.
So it's one part cover up and two, look for any opponent anywhere.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I have so many things, and I have so little time with you as usual. But U.S. intelligence agencies conclude coronavirus was not man-made. This is him once again ignoring our actual intelligence and now trying to force the intelligence agencies to come up with something that further blames China or reinforces conspiracy theories, which goes to what your whole piece is about this week, which was so great. It's not the bleach. Trump is a catalog of bad ideas that tax resources, whether it's nuked hurricanes or alligator-stocked moats. The most persistent of the president's whims waste time and court danger. And again, it's him. It's the vote fraud commission. It's now he's like, oh, God, help me with this conspiracy theory about, this being a man-made thing that China released on purpose, right?
Yeah, that's right. Look, they've got to find an opponent. The thing about Trump, he wants to be the guy he was before he was president, which is no responsibility for anything, who can just say whatever he wants, who can call into Fox and Friends, who can tweet, who can spout all these kind of wild-eyed ideas, and there never be any accountability. And he got away with a lot of it for president. My piece kind of goes through all of those crazy
I've
ideas.
Forgotten some of them, Matthew. Thank you for the reminder.
It was.
Let me just remind people. But you talk about, he always says, "I know more than that than anybody," and he knows, of course, less than anybody about anything.
Right.
Right, but then you said it's the right. He sent government officials scrambling on foolish missions, leading them to spend time and capital, persuading him not to follow through on schemes that are invariably wasteful, ineffective, unrealistic, or dangerous. The latest one I'm worried about, Matthew, is Operation Warp Speed on vaccine, which I want a vaccine as much as anybody, Matthew, but the shortest one on time is on record is mumps, which took 4 years, Ebola 5 years, which was also record speed. So he's putting all of this taxpayer money into Operation Warp Speed to try to get a vaccine, I'm guessing right away before the election. And we all know that you need to test for it to be safe for people and not the next hydroxychloroquine, right?
Yeah, one of it's funny, as I was writing that piece, I was going through, so here are all the bad things that happen when the president has these crazy ideas. You send, people wasting time. You spend people, people have to come in and use their political capital trying to convince the president not to do something crazy. And then I realized as I was writing, actually, the biggest problem with all these ideas is that they prove the president is an idiot. I mean,
let me just remind people, as Matthew reminds me. Well, we posted this piece, but it just I've forgotten some of them about the wall, paint it black so it'll be too hot to climb, electrify it, cap it with spikes, add a moat with alligators and snakes. Why can't the government just drop a nuclear bomb on hurricanes before they make landfall? Can we purchase Greenland? We now have a space force. The cost was billions. It serves no discernible purpose that wasn't already being handled elsewhere. And then making all the cadets go back to West Point now. They're saying 60% of them probably have coronavirus. As you said, hydroxychloroquine, the disinfectants, windmills cause cancer. The F-35 stealth fighters are literally invisible. I just love that you felt like you had to say they're not.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you ever listened to clips. He does seem to actually believe that stealth fighters, which are invisible to radar, are literally invisible. People should Google it and check it out. I mean, it is terrifying.
You quote Joe Biden. I hate to have to say this, but don't drink bleach. You say that serves an apt metaphor for his entire presidency. Don't drink the bleach again in 2020.
Yeah, we drank the bleach once, and look what's happened.
Great piece, Matthew, and we linked to it up at Stephanie Miller Facebook and all of that. Wow, thank you for everything: the parenting tips, the hairstyling tips, the legal advice. Former DA.
Well, people should follow one of three of those categories where I offer advice. You can pick which one.
Former.